There is someone who feels an incredibly powerful connection to you, yet circumstances have placed an invisible barrier between you. Before you continue listening, pause for a moment and pay attention. This message may feel surprisingly personal, and that is not by chance. The person who immediately appeared in your mind while hearing these words likely surfaced for a reason. Somewhere in your life, or perhaps in the background of your thoughts, there is an individual who carries feelings for you that run far deeper than ordinary attraction. Their connection to you is not casual, temporary, or superficial. It is profound, consuming, and difficult for them to ignore. Yet they keep most of it hidden. This person is not obsessed with you in a reckless or dramatic way. Their feelings exist beneath the surface, carefully controlled and rarely expressed. What makes this situation so complicated is that the connection feels forbidden, not because affection is absent, but because something significant stands between what they feel and what they believe they can allow themselves to pursue. And that reality reveals two important truths. Welcome to Inner Shadow. If these messages resonate with you, consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you never miss a new insight. The first thing to understand is that forbidden connections are rarely weak. In many cases, they are the exact opposite. Relationships built on convenience often fade quickly. They begin because of circumstance and disappear when those circumstances change. But the connections that feel impossible, complicated, or restricted often carry extraordinary emotional weight because they are rooted in something deeper than simple attraction. This person did not decide one day to fall for you. The process happened naturally. At first, you were simply someone they noticed. Then you became someone they admired. Over time, you earned their trust. And before they fully understood what was happening, your presence occupied a permanent place in their thoughts. The obstacle is not a lack of feeling. The obstacle may be timing. It may be commitments. It may be family expectations, cultural traditions, personal responsibilities, or values they have spent their entire life honoring. Sometimes one person is unavailable. Sometimes the situation challenges everything they thought their future would look like. Whatever the reason, they find themselves caught between desire and restraint. This leads to the first major truth. They are constantly struggling with their own emotions because of you. Their battle is not against you. It is against what they feel. They wake up thinking about you and immediately remind themselves why they should not. They revisit conversations and then criticize themselves for how much those memories affect them. They imagine what life might look like if circumstances were different, only to force those thoughts away moments later. Wanting you feels risky, not because you would hurt them, but because acknowledging these feelings could disrupt the life they have carefully constructed. As a result, they hold back. Instead of speaking honestly, they stay quiet. Instead of moving closer, they create distance. Instead of revealing what is in their heart, they watch from afar. Many people mistake silence for a lack of emotion, but that is often far from the truth. Sometimes silence exists because the emotions are simply too powerful. This person remains quiet because they understand that once certain words are spoken, they cannot be taken back. They know that opening this door could force them to confront realities they are not prepared to face. As Carl Jung observed, what we resist often becomes stronger rather than weaker. That principle is unfolding here. Every attempt to suppress these feelings seems to strengthen them. Every effort to create distance only makes the connection feel more significant. The emotions do not disappear. Instead, they become concentrated, and concentrated emotions tend to grow. This may explain why the connection feels so unusual. You may find yourself thinking about them unexpectedly. Their presence may enter your mind during random moments. At times, you may sense a lingering emotional energy even when there has been no contact. That unfinished feeling exists because emotions that remain unexpressed rarely vanish on their own. they wait. Jung also suggested that whatever remains unconscious continues to influence our lives until it is brought into awareness. Much of this connection currently exists beneath the surface. It remains unnamed, unspoken, and unresolved. Because of that, it continues shaping thoughts, emotions, and decisions behind the scenes. While the world sees them as composed and in control, their private reality is very different. Inside, there is a constant negotiation taking place. One moment they feel drawn toward you. The next moment they pull themselves back. They move between longing and self-restraint over and over again, not because you mean little to them, because you mean too much. They worry about the consequences. They worry about upsetting existing structures in their life. They worry about crossing lines they were taught never to cross. They worry about starting something they cannot reverse, and carrying that tension day after day is exhausting. It helps explain why the connection can feel intense despite distance, why separation does not seem to bring relief, why the emotional weight remains even when neither person openly discusses it. Jung once described human connection as a transformative encounter. When two personalities genuinely meet, both are changed. That is exactly what has happened here. Whether either of you fully recognizes it or not, knowing each other has created an internal shift. Something inside them is different because of you. Something inside you is different because of them. This goes beyond imagination. It goes beyond fantasy or coincidence. It is a connection that carries meaning, and meaning is far more powerful than habit. That is why time alone often fails to erase it. Another Jungian insight reminds us that genuine love is not rooted in control. Where love exists, domination fades. Where domination exists, love struggles to survive. This connection is not about manipulation, power, or games. Neither of you planned for this. Neither of you intentionally created these feelings. Yet here they are, influencing both lives in ways that cannot be easily explained. One thing becomes increasingly clear. You are not simply a distraction in their life. You are not an error they wish they could erase. And you are certainly not someone who can be effortlessly replaced. You have become part of a journey that is pushing both of you toward deeper self-awareness. As time passes, more layers of this connection continue revealing themselves, and with every new layer, another truth becomes impossible to ignore. This bond does not behave like ordinary attraction. Distance does not weaken it. Logic does not fully dissolve it. Inconvenience does not make it disappear. Instead, it quietly follows both of you. Even during busy periods when attention is focused elsewhere, thoughts of each other continue resurfacing without invitation. Not because either of you is trying to hold on, but because something remains unfinished beneath the surface. The same pattern exists for them. They may appear unaffected for days. They may immerse themselves in work, obligations, family life, or daily routines. Yet the mind naturally returns to what it has not resolved. They remember feeling understood by you without needing lengthy explanations. They remember conversations that felt effortless. They remember the sense of familiarity that appeared unusually quickly. Most of all, they remember moments that carried far greater significance than they expected. And those memories are precisely what unsettle them. Because once someone truly sees you, it becomes impossible to pretend that experience never happened. This is where many people misunderstand forbidden connections. They assume distance means indifference, but quite often the reality is the opposite. Distance can exist because the feelings are overwhelming rather than absent. This person senses that stepping closer could change everything. They know honesty might transform their life in ways they cannot predict. And for now, they are not prepared to dismantle the structures they have spent years building, even if those structures no longer fit who they are becoming. So they continue choosing control instead of vulnerability, predictability instead of uncertainty, safety instead of truth. Yet every choice carries a cost. The emotions they suppress do not disappear. They simply find new ways to express themselves. They emerge as restlessness, as distraction, as a lingering sense that something important remains unresolved. And no matter how carefully they attempt to manage those feelings, the connection continues waiting beneath the surface, asking to be acknowledged. Over time, they may begin questioning parts of their life that once felt certain. Relationships that seemed secure no longer provide the same sense of fulfillment. Answers that used to satisfy them suddenly feel incomplete. A quiet feeling starts growing inside, one that asks whether something essential has been missing all along. Even if they never speak your name, your influence remains present. You become an unspoken reference point, a reminder of a kind of emotional honesty they have not yet fully embraced in their own life. This is one reason the connection feels unfinished. It is not simply about two people wanting to be together. It is about two individuals standing at the edge of profound personal change. And if you are honest with yourself, you have felt that shift too. Since crossing paths with them, something inside you has changed. Your expectations have evolved. What you are willing to tolerate is different now. The things you truly desire have become clearer. Situations you once accepted without question may now feel empty or insufficient. You may find yourself less willing to accept emotional inconsistency, less interested in shallow interactions, more aware of what genuine connection feels like when it appears. That awareness did not emerge by accident. It came through recognition, and this is where the deeper meaning of the connection begins to reveal itself. This bond is not only about desire, it is about awakening. Some people enter our lives to build a future alongside us. Others arrive to awaken parts of ourselves that have been sleeping. This connection carries the energy of the second. That does not mean it can never become more. It simply means its first purpose reaches beyond romance. You met this person during a period when something inside you was ready to expand. Likewise, they encountered you at a moment when they were already beginning to question aspects of their own life, whether they consciously admitted it or not. That is why the attraction feels both powerful and confusing. You reflect pieces of each other. You reveal what has been hidden. They mirror the parts of you waiting for acknowledgement, and you mirror the truths they have struggled to face. Connections like this rarely unfold according to ordinary timelines. They move quietly. They work beneath the surface. They slowly reshape priorities, values, desires, and emotional understanding. That is why even silence between you can feel significant, because something continues evolving underneath it. You may ask yourself why moving on feels so difficult, why logic alone does not create closure, why convincing yourself that nothing can happen fails to bring peace. The reason is simple. This connection is not being sustained by fantasy. It is being sustained by a truth that has not yet been fully expressed. And once a person experiences truth at that level, it cannot simply be erased. What you are holding on to is not merely a person. You are holding on to a moment of clarity that transformed your understanding of connection. And they are carrying that same experience within themselves. This does not mean you should stop living your life. It does not mean you should wait indefinitely. It does not mean you should sacrifice your present for a future that remains uncertain. What it means is that you should recognize what this connection has already taught you. It has shown you how deeply your heart can feel. It has revealed the kind of emotional nourishment you genuinely need. It has reminded you that authentic connection exists beyond convenience, fear, and expectation. Whether they admit it or not, it is teaching them the very same lessons. What comes next cannot be forced. No amount of longing can accelerate it. No strategy, silence, pursuit, or effort can control its timing. Connections like this evolve only when truth becomes stronger than fear. Until that moment arrives, the bond remains suspended in a space between presence and absence. not fully realized, not completely gone, existing in thoughts, existing in emotions, existing in quiet moments when inner truth speaks softly rather than loudly. As time passes, the tension between who they are and who they are becoming continues to grow. The same process is unfolding within you. Eventually, something has to change. Awareness cannot remain asleep forever. And when change finally arrives, it rarely announces itself dramatically. It comes quietly. It emerges through discomfort. It grows through the realization that something no longer fits the life being lived. For them, this often begins as a subtle internal crack. The roles they perform start feeling heavier. Responsibilities that once seemed natural begin feeling restrictive. Routines that once brought certainty start feeling emotionally empty, even if everything appears perfectly fine from the outside. You did not create that fracture. You simply illuminated it. You exposed misalignments that already existed beneath the surface. That is why this connection feels threatening to them, not because it destroys stability, because it challenges illusion. Illusions provide comfort. Truth demands action. Truth asks difficult questions. Truth requires courage. Truth eventually forces a person to decide whether they are willing to live in alignment with what they genuinely feel. Many people are not ready for that decision when it first appears, so they postpone it. They explain it away. They convince themselves it is temporary. They tell themselves they are imagining things. They assume the feelings will disappear if ignored long enough, but meaningful connections do not vanish through neglect. Instead, they transform into pressure. This explains why you may experience periods of closeness followed by sudden distance, why they sometimes seem emotionally available and then unexpectedly retreat, why the connection can feel strong even during complete silence. That inconsistency is not necessarily uncertainty about you. It is often the reflection of a struggle happening inside them. They are standing between their past identity and the person they are gradually becoming. Meanwhile, something equally significant is happening within you. You are developing discernment. You are learning to recognize the difference between emotional intensity and genuine truth, the difference between attraction and alignment, the difference between attention and authentic recognition. This connection did not enter your life to consume you. It entered your life to clarify you. You may notice yourself caring less about validation than before. You may feel less interested in chasing people who offer only fragments of themselves. You may become increasingly unwilling to shrink your needs just to maintain someone's comfort. That is growth. This bond has been teaching self-respect without ever directly speaking the lesson. It has shown you what emotional recognition feels like, even if the experience remains incomplete. And once you have experienced that level of connection, it becomes impossible to forget the difference. That is why the bond feels sacred. Sacred does not mean flawless. It does not mean easy. It does not guarantee a particular outcome. It simply means meaningful beyond results. Whether this relationship eventually becomes tangible or remains unfinished, it has already served an important purpose. It has expanded your emotional awareness. It has strengthened your intuition. It has clarified what truly matters to you in love. And it has likely done the same for them. That is why neither of you can erase it entirely. It has become woven into the people you are becoming. You may wonder why the timing seems so difficult, why something so significant arrived under such complicated circumstances. But timing is not always a form of punishment. Often it is preparation. Sometimes two people meet, not so they can immediately walk the same path, but so they can first transform separately. Without that growth, even the strongest connection can collapse beneath unhealed fears and unconscious patterns. At this stage, both of you are being asked to face something greater than desire. you are being asked to face truth. For them, the challenge is deciding whether they can live honestly despite the consequences. For you, the challenge is remaining faithful to yourself even when waiting feels tempting. This is where patience becomes important. Not patience rooted in expectation, not patience rooted in hope, patience rooted in trust, trust in yourself, trust in your path, trust that your life does not need to pause while answers unfold. You are meant to continue growing, continue choosing, continue living fully. If this connection is meant to develop further, it will do so when both people can meet without masks, without hesitation, and without divided loyalties. And if it never becomes a shared journey, its value remains unchanged, because it has already altered your inner direction. That is not a loss. It is an initiation into deeper awareness. Many people spend their entire lives without experiencing a connection powerful enough to challenge their patterns. They remain comfortable, but asleep. They choose familiarity over authenticity. You encountered something different, something real enough to expose fears, challenge assumptions, and encourage growth. That alone makes this connection extraordinary. As life continues, clarity will reveal itself naturally, not through force, not through waiting, but through honesty in action. People eventually move toward what is true for them, or retreat further into what feels safe. Either choice creates answers, and you will not have to chase those answers. Time, behavior, and decisions will reveal them. Until then, focus on what this experience has already given you. Not longing, not uncertainty, awareness. And once awareness expands, it never leaves you unchanged. As that awareness deepens, another transformation begins. You stop needing to label the connection. You stop demanding explanations. Instead, your attention turns toward what the experience is awakening within you. This is where your power quietly returns. Because the greatest risk of a forbidden connection is not longing itself. It is losing yourself while trying to understand it. And you are beginning to move beyond that. You are noticing how much steadier you feel when you choose your own well-being, how much calmer life becomes when you stop searching for signs, how much clearer everything appears when your focus shifts from their silence to your own inner foundation. That shift matters, because what once felt like an overwhelming emotional pull is now becoming a lesson in self-sovereignty. You are learning that genuine connection never requires self-abandonment, that love does not demand confusion as proof, that emotional depth does not require suffering to be real. And whether this relationship continues or not, that lesson will remain invaluable. You are learning how to keep your heart open without losing yourself in uncertainty. This connection has already changed you. You no longer confuse emotional intensity with emotional readiness, and you no longer build your future around potential alone. You see more clearly now, and that clarity has given you freedom. The connection may still matter, but it no longer controls you. You can feel its significance without becoming consumed by it. That is growth. If this bond is ever meant to become a real relationship, it will require one thing above all else: courage. The courage to be honest, to take responsibility for the truth, and to act on it. Without courage, even the deepest connection remains only a possibility. But you are no longer afraid of that. You understand that meaning is not dependent on outcomes. Some connections are not meant to last forever. They arrive to transform you. This experience has taught you valuable lessons about self-respect, discernment, and emotional truth. It has shown you the difference between attachment and alignment, between longing and genuine connection. Many people believe that a powerful connection must be pursued at any cost. But real love requires more than strong feelings. It requires presence, consistency, honesty, and action. When those elements are missing, the connection still has value. It simply serves a different purpose. Some people enter our lives as bridges. They help us move from one version of ourselves to another. This connection has already done that. It has awakened something within you, strengthened your intuition, and clarified what truly matters in love. That is why you no longer need to analyze every silence or search for hidden meanings. The lesson is already clear. This connection came into your life to reveal truth, not to keep you waiting. If this person chooses courage, you will know through their actions. If they do not, that is also an answer. Either way, you no longer need to force clarity. You trust that reality will reveal itself in time. From this place, your heart remains open, but wisely so. You welcome love that is present, honest, and fully available. Love that exists in reality rather than possibility. And this brings us to the deepest realization of all. If this connection ever becomes part of your future, it will arrive with clarity, not confusion. It will be built on choice, not silence. It will move forward through action, not uncertainty. Until then, you are not incomplete. You are already whole. This connection did not define you. Your response to it did. You chose growth over obsession, awareness over fantasy, and self-respect over self-abandonment. Those choices matter more than any outcome ever could. Whether this person becomes part of your future or remains an important chapter in your story, you continue forward stronger, wiser, and more aligned with yourself. You are no longer searching for the meaning of this connection. You have become the lesson it came to teach. This connection was never sent to break you. It was sent to reveal you, and now you move forward with clarity, confidence, and peace. If this message resonated with you, remember this. Anything that truly transforms you is never meaningless. If you're ready for deeper insights about love, emotional growth, and human connection, subscribe to Inner Shadow and join us on the journey.